This young man threw himself into the silent sea on a calm night, not out of boredom but in a desperate plea. He sunk in the ocean for a while before plunging deep into it. In the end, he found an old car. With all his strength, he broke the car window and opened the door. Then he looked at the skeleton inside the car, embracing it and weeping painfully in the deep ocean. This unfortunate girl is named Kang Ha Ram. She always had to wear sunglasses. But there was a reason why she wore these glasses. When the manager took her glasses off, she saw dark shadows on the customer's body. She tried to stop him to stay there for a while, but he thought she was crazy and talking nonsense. Fate spared no one. As he stepped out of the store, a speeding truck crashed into him. This incident caused a commotion among everyone there, while she remained strangely calm. She was cursed because since she was young, she possessed yin and yang eyes that could see shadows foretelling someone's eventual death. Every time she saw a shadow behind someone, it meant they were gonna die soon. When she was young, Kang Ha Ram always tried to warn people about the dark shadows she saw. But naturally, no one cared to listen to a child. As a result, those people all met tragic fates. Since then, everyone shunned Kang Ha Ram as a harbinger of misfortune. Kang Ha Ram's father gave her sunglasses out of love, so she wouldn't see the dark shadows anymore. So, Kang Ha Ram always wore sunglasses to shield herself from the cruel world outside. Today, Kang Ha Ram was preparing to fly to Vietnam to see Blackpink concert. She accidentally dropped her sunglasses on the plane. The girl sitting next to her found it intriguing and immediately tried them on. They looked quite stylish, so Kang Ha Ram asked the girl to return them. Before she could say 1, 2, 3. Kang Ha Ram then saw a dark shadow with red eyes looking towards her. But it wasn't just one, it was a bunch on this flight. Kang Ha Ram was extremely panicked, shouting for the flight attendant to stop the flight. However, they thought she was mentally sick, so they dragged Kang Ha Ram off and continued the flight. Good scenarios usually don't happen, but bad scenarios always do. The news quickly spread across social media about the plane crash. All passengers on that flight perished. The police quickly brought Kang Ha Ram in for questioning. Because they couldn't understand how Kang Ha Ram knew that the plane would crash, they considered her a terrorist. Kang Ha Ram honestly stated that she saw the dark shadows of those people, which prompted her to ask them to stop the flight. Her words were true, but who would believe such a strange story? The police couldn't accept Kang Ha Ram's explanation and deemed it absurd. However, there is still one person who believes Ha Ram's words, Mu Gang, because he witnessed her prophecy at the previous cafe accident where he was also present. Combined with the recent plane crash, Mu Gang felt Kang Ha Ram was not ordinary but extraordinary. To ascertain the truth, during interrogation, he asked Kang Ha Ram how she knew that the truck would hit that man. Kang Ha Ram said touching the dark shadow let her see how someone would die. It sounded supernatural, but it was highly convincing because she had proven it. Mu Gang continued to believe in the girl. The next morning, Kang Ha Ram was released. Just as Mu Gang was heading to work, she boldly asked him to give her a ride home. As a girl, if you know you're beautiful, you have to take advantage of it. As they walked, they spotted a young man about to swim in the river. When Kang Ha Ram took off her glasses, she noticed that the guy also had a demonic shadow. She said he was about to die, but Mu Gang didn't believe it. He knew the guy was just pretending to threaten others because he had often expressed intentions to suicide to show off. But he always retreated upon hearing that Mu had one. Kang Ha Ram was angry at this. Yesterday, he believed her, but today, he no longer did, which was very unreliable. She went straight home without bothering to say goodbye. Mu Gang didn't understand, so he had to remain silent. However, when he returned to his old street, he found the shaggy-haired guy had jumped into the river. Mu Gang rushed to confirm, but the shaggy-haired guy had already sunk in the water. Only then did he believe Kang Ha Ram's words were accurate. That evening, Mu Gang decided to go to her house to talk in his drunken state. Seeing his indecent appearance made Kang Ha Ram uncomfortable. Because of the regret of the guy's departure foretold by Ha Ram, Mu Gang drank so much. If he had believed Kang Ha Ram's words then, he would have prevented his own tragic fate. Being a police officer and unable to protect the people is truly useless. Afterward, Mu Gang summoned all his courage to find Kang Ha Ram and ask her to work with him. He said Kang Ha Ram's eyes weren't unlucky but rather a masterpiece of creation, a great design. Based on her abilities, the two of them could save those on the brink of death. However, she didn't care and dismissed him because she thought it was nonsense. After a few days of contemplation, she realized he was right. If she could use her eyes to save people, no one would call her unlucky anymore. Finally, Kang Ha Ram decided to put off her sunglasses to use her death-seeing eyes to save people. Right away, she noticed a dark shadow behind a man. She called Mu Gang for help, but he brushed her off, saying he was drunk that day and talking nonsense. His words infuriated Kang Ha Ram. It's true that you're stupid and often talk nonsense. Kang Ha Ram decided to do this herself without his help. She came to the man with the dark shadow and described the process of his death. This ridiculous story made the man unable to believe her and thought she was a fraud. Nevertheless, Kang Ha Ram was determined not to let him leave the cafe because of his life. She banged her head on the chair, falsely claiming that he had hit her to prevent him from leaving. Mugang arrived just in time to stop the man from leaving. Kang Ha Ram was surprised that Mugang actually came, but he came for his own sense of dignity. He proudly stated that he had grown up and must be responsible for his words. A mark of a great man is this. Thinking everything was settled, Kang Ha Ram said the conversation wasn't over yet. When she touched the man's shadow, she discovered it was a hostage situation to threaten people at the mall. However, there was an assassin behind killing the hostage. So even when they prevented the man from going there, if they didn't catch the assassin, there would still be murders. According to Kang Ha Ram, the murderer was wearing a military uniform, and the crime would occur at 7 p.m. today. They rushed there to investigate and found a nearly 2-meter-tall soldier who was cheated by his lover. The two then went to find his lover and asked her to meet him to discuss important matters. The soldier quickly went to meet his lover. Mugang approached him pretending to be interested in him and checked if his watch matched Kang Ha Ram's description. Seeing Kang Ha Ram nod, he promptly arrested him and quickly took him to the station along with the man. As long as they don't go to the shopping center, there won't be any murders. However, just as Kang Ha Ram left, the uncle asked Mugang to pick up his dementia mother from the shopping mall. Meanwhile, Kang Ha Ram was heading to the public bathroom to relieve stress. She discovered 17 missed calls from Mugang on her phone. Kang Ha Ram immediately rushed to find the police but couldn't find him anywhere. In the process, she accidentally picked up a photo of Mugang with a red bracelet on his desk. This is the token that she gave to Hyunsu, the person she loved the most and the only person who didn't hate her. Now Kang Ha Ram realized that Mugang was him, but the joy lasted only about 5 minutes. She was surprised to find only 1 bar on the soldier's uniform, while the person she saw in the shadow had 2 bars. Meanwhile, the TV aired live news of the hostage situation at the shopping center. Kang Ha Ram panicked when she saw Mugang being arrested. A gunshot sounded, and both fell down, but it was Mugang who was hit. The bullet was shot in his head, and he couldn't be saved. Kang Ha Ram was devastated to learn that her loved one had passed away. She regretted causing Mugang's death. If she hadn't been so busy trying to save others, he wouldn't have died unjustly. So Mugang officially passed away. Suddenly, a stranger appeared in the morgue and even tried to take out Mugang's eyes. Whoever thought that Mugang woke up and threatened him to chase away. Mugang washed his face and wiped away the blood as if nothing had happened. Doctors watching through the camera couldn't believe their eyes as Mugang walked out of the morgue unscathed. Everyone in the surveillance room was incredulous at the sight. Meanwhile, at Kang Ha Ram's home, she was about to end her life out of guilt. Upon hearing the news that police officer Mugang was still alive, she desperately tried to free herself from the ropes, but her body was too weak. Unexpectedly, a handsome young man appeared just in time and rescued her. When she woke up, she initially thought he was a robber. However, Mansu explained that he came to ask her a favor. On the day Kang Ha Ram mentioned the plane crash at the police station, that day, he mistook her for a fortune teller and asked Kang Ha Ram to check if his dog had any problems. On arrival at the new house, he found Kang Ha Ram on the verge of suicide and rescued her. At this point, Kang Ha Ram didn't care about that, she was only concerned about Mugang's health. She ran everywhere looking for him. Luckily, she spotted Mugang staggering. But because he had been shot, he collapsed on the road. Kang Ha Ram quickly took him to the hospital. She silently watched Mugang. However, when he woke up, he didn't remember her at all and behaved very strangely. He acted like a jerk and even argued with senior officers at the police station. But in return, his intelligence had improved. It's unclear whether the gunshot to the head activated his brain or not, but his investigative senses had completely changed. During the murder case at the psychiatric hospital, the police arrived to investigate the clues. Mugang was also there. Just by looking, he knew the murderer had killed others out of revenge. He stabbed the victim many times and even tortured them, causing immense pain. The autopsy confirmed this. His colleagues were extremely surprised by his talent. Before, they said Mugang was just a timid cop. Seeing blood used to make him vomit, but with a bullet in his head, his mind opened up. Mugang had lost all memory, he even didn't recognize his own mother. The doctor said his brain had been severely shaken, so he would temporarily lose his memory and need time to recover. His mother then took Mugang home to recuperate. However, Mugang now preferred to be alone. There was no other way, so they had to let him be alone. Mugang's desire to be alone had a reason. On a rainy day, he was standing in the house waiting for someone. Unexpectedly, another Mugang appeared. His body was still covered in blood, but on this side, he had healed completely. It turns out that Mugang had truly departed. This was his soul, while the person lying in Mugang's body was someone else. The one who entered Mugang was the Death Black. On the day Mugang was shot, this death was tasked with escorting the soul of a dying person. The dying person was the shaggy-haired drowned man. While preparing to guide him to the underworld, the shaggy-haired man had a change of heart and decided to flee. Wanting to return to human world, he inhabited another body to continue his existence. Black searched everywhere for him. Because the shaggy-haired man entered a human body, Black couldn't locate him. To complete his mission, Black had to become human to find out where the shaggy-haired man was. But he could only enter those who had just passed away. Luckily, at that time, Mugang had just been shot by the assassin. If there was a police officer's body, the investigation would be easier, so Black decided to enter Mugang's body. Realizing the truth, Mugang begged the death for one last favor. The laws of heaven cannot be violated. He was still taken away, while Black continued the search. He went to where he ended his life to find clues. Beside Black, there were two deaths, old and young, always ready to aid him in times of trouble. On her way home, Kang Ha Ram noticed Mugang standing on the bridge, and she also saw two dark shadows beside him. Fearing that Mugang might be in trouble, she quickly ran there. While Black was arguing with his colleagues, a bicycle suddenly ran by and knocked a glass ball off. Without much thought, he rushed to pick it up, just as a truck was speeding towards him. Luckily, Kang Ha Ram arrived just in time, but then she fainted. As for the death, when he opened the glass ball, he saw Kang Ha Ram's image appear. This was the soul orb assigned by the heavens to the death. The image reflected in it would be the soul the death had to lead back. Busy searching for the shaggy-haired man, he temporarily postponed the issue and escorted the strange girl home. After finishing his task, the death returned to strategize with his two colleagues on the quickest way to find the shaggy-haired man. The old death said that if he had entered Mugang's body, he had to change his behavior and personality to match him. Otherwise, he might cause suspicion. He understood the issue and agreed to impersonate Mugang for the sake of the investigation. The next morning, when the police discovered a case of murder in the freezer, while his colleagues were confused, Mugang suddenly appeared with a completely new appearance. He observed the body for a long time, while his colleagues asserted that it was done by the victim's husband, because nearby neighbors had recently heard them arguing a lot. Mugang didn't think so. He thought the killer was someone else because on the victim's neck there was only the tie mark in the middle feint. It proved that the killer lost a middle finger, but this husband's hand was completely normal. So it meant the killer wasn't the husband but someone else. Everyone found this very reasonable. Later, he returned to the station to explain the murder case details. Mugang did all this just to please his superior and to be granted a gun for his missions. As the old death's word, to extract the soul of the shaggy-haired man from human body, the quickest way is to shoot him in the head. Due to this, Mugang had to solve the case to assist his colleagues. But they all didn't know that the person standing before them was not Mugang but the death, Black. When hearing him explaining the case thoroughly, the captain also agreed to give Mugang a gun. He immediately went everywhere to find the shaggy-haired man, but while observing at a school, he caught Kang Ha Ram here. She told him that there was a dark shadow in the body of that schoolboy. Mugang didn't understand what she was saying. Ha Ram thought he had lost his memory, so she said she could see the shadow of the death. At this point, the death suspected the shaggy-haired man was in the schoolboy, so he silently dragged him to a private place to interrogate him and force him out. But to his surprise, that soul wasn't the shaggy-haired man but another student. The boy begged Black to spare his life. He also allowed him to return to his body. However, he unexpectedly threw the boy down afterward. Once the owner of the body dies again, the soul will forget everything that happened before. It seems that as a death, there's no mercy even for children. Although today's efforts yielded nothing, Mugang figured out a way to find the shaggy-haired man by using Kang Ha Ram's eyes to detect his shadow. So he immediately went to find Kang Ha Ram and demanded her to always follow him. If she saw any dark shadows in someone's body like the schoolboy before, she must report it to him immediately, thinking she would agree out of love for the owner of the body. To his surprise, Kang Ha Ram got angry and chased him away. Mugang didn't give up but wanted to force her to do this as an order and even threatened Kang Ha Ram. She kicked his balls, causing him pain severely. She did that because she didn't want Mugang to face danger again. It was very difficult for him to escape death. If her actions harmed Mugang once more, she would regret it for life. Because that incident had been haunting Kang Ha Ram for the past few days, she drank to forget the pain. Coincidentally, the guy Mansu was also here. He found it amusing to see Kang Ha Ram drunk and rambling alone, even dancing randomly like a stupid. Then she rolled around on the ground. Mansu had to take Kang Ha Ram home. After receiving his help twice, Kang Ha Ram felt grateful to Mansu. As they got to know each other, Mansu discovered Kang Ha Ram's ability to see the shadow and wanted to hire her at his company. He's the director of the Royal Insurance Company. Mansu wants Kang Ha Ram to help him check if clients have the shadow for reducing insurance payouts. Kang Ha Ram agreed to help him as a way of repaying him for saving her before. As for Mugang, after her kick, he was so painful, but now he felt a bit curious. If Kang Ha Ram can see the shadow in people's bodies, shouldn't she have seen the death in this body? He remembered when Kang Ha Ram said she couldn't see the shadow when wearing sunglasses. That also means that if Mugang wears black clothes, she wouldn't see the shadow inside him either, so he bought a whole wardrobe full of black clothes to be sure. Today when Mugang arrived at the office, there was an inspection department coming for an interview. They investigated the person who shot him in the mall. Last time meeting that person, he confessed that someone else had threatened him to kill Mugang. That person warned Mugang to be careful because someone was still trying to kill him. At this point, the death realized that someone had plotted to kill the owner of this body rather than him being randomly killed. Regardless of Kang Ha Ram's intervention, Mugang would have still died. If he can prove to Kang Ha Ram that she's not involved in Mugang's case, she might relieve and help him. He promptly went to the police station to investigate. The camera footage showed the person in the body heading in the opposite direction of the mall. Black also remembered when he was searching for the shaggy-haired man, Mugang came out of the hotel. Then went to the mall and accidentally got shot by that soldier. So, it means that Mugang went there to meet someone mysterious, not to pick up that uncle's mother at the mall. Now everything was clear, he immediately told the whole thing to Kang Ha Ram. He affirmed that she had nothing to do with Mugang getting shot. While it sounded good, Kang Ha Ram still felt sad for causing him this trouble. To comfort Kang Ha Ram's mentality, Mugang took her to meet the uncle's family. What you did saved 2 lives, and I haven't died yet, so be proud of your eyes and your good deeds. Despite such encouraging words, the girl remained stubborn and refused to help Mugang. Kang Ha Ram said she would think about it, while Mugang returned home and recounted the targeted attack was the body owner. His words left the old death worried. Because if the owner of this body is a target of the murderer, it's very likely that he'll be killed again. And the death's rule is that he can't enter a body twice. If Black leaves this body, it will be difficult to find the shaggy-haired man. First, he has to find out the identity of the owner of this body. Black rushed to the basement but couldn't open it without the password. He was about to see what was inside when suddenly the door opened. It turns out the password was opened by these eyes. Perhaps that's why someone wanted to gouge out Mugang's eyes. After searching for a while, he didn't find anything special. Suddenly, there was a knock on the door outside, and Mugang left without bothering to close it. The person who came was Kang Ha Ram. On her way back, she saw a lost child who looked pitiful. At the same time, she noticed a shadow behind him. She couldn't see an innocent child going to die. Since last time Mugang said he wanted to help her find the shadow to save people, Kang Ha Ram came here to ask for his help. However, he refused because what he wanted her to see was the shadow inside people's bodies, not behind them. He said it, then swiftly closed the door and entered. Kang Ha Ram also didn't understand why Mugang left so quickly. With no other choice, Kang Ha Ram had to go rescue the child alone. Inside the house, the old death taught him to be a good human. He said if he didn't help Kang Ha Ram rescue the child, she would lose trust in him. It'd be harder to catch the shaggy-haired man then. Mugang thought it made sense, so he ran out to find Kang Ha Ram, but she had already left. He hurriedly went to a colleague and asked him to track the location of his friends on his phone. Luckily, Kang Ha Ram had previously installed a tracker on his phone. Meanwhile, Kang Ha Ram was sitting in front of the child's house. To protect the child, she had to catch the suspicious person. Suddenly, a man appeared. He said he was the child's homeroom teacher. But the mother said her child was sick today and asked the teacher to let him have a day off. Just as he was leaving, Kang Ha Ram ran up to ask if anyone had recently intended to harm the child. However, at that moment, a cyclist accidentally collided with them. Luckily, the teacher caught Kang Ha Ram, and she quickly took him to the medical room. However, Kang Ha Ram seemed to have discovered something. She saw the teacher's bandaged hand, identical to the image of the child's assailant. But upon reflection, she realized there were many people with bandaged hands, not just him. With the teacher's gentle nature, how could he be a murderer? However, while he was playing with the students, a mischievous boy stamped a red seal on the teacher's hand. Kang Ha Ram froze, seeing the red mark on the teacher's hand, just like the murderer's. This time, Ha Ram confirmed that the teacher was the murderer. Kang Ha Ram closely monitored his every move. At this time, the teacher put his suitcase in the car trunk and intended to run away. Kang Ha Ram ran towards his car, but he didn't care, just drove away ignoring her. Just now, Mugang suddenly appeared and stopped the car. He dragged out the teacher and beat him, revealing he was a thug. Kang Ha Ram hastily opened the suitcase at the back, only to find a little girl inside, not the boy she expected. The pervert was taken to the police station for prosecution. Thus, Kang Ha Ram saved 2 children from the death. She was also extremely grateful when Mugang came to help her. Thanks to him, everything turned out well. Mugang also took this opportunity to ask Kang Ha Ram to help him find the shadow in the body. He said those with shadows in their bodies would die faster, but it was just an excuse to find the shaggy hair. The naive girl happily agreed. The next day, the two went together to search for the shadow in the body. They waited all morning but found nothing. While buying cakes, Kang Ha Ram spotted a guy on a motorcycle with a shadow in him and signaled Mugang immediately. They quickly chased after him, but because they bumped into some gang members, they were hindered and asked about their health. The guy on the motorcycle took advantage of that and fled. Mugang angrily turned around and beat up these guys, not caring whether they were right or wrong. He just kept hitting them. Furious about losing the target, Mugang frantically searched for people wearing helmets like him. He beat people up without knowing their mistakes. During lunch with Kang Ha Ram, Mugang realized the person shown on TV was the one with the shaggy hair mentioned before his death. When Black waited for his death, the shaggy hair spoke. After going to the underworld, he will find that male actor to revenge. He silently thought that by following this person on TV, he could find the shaggy hair. It is known that the famous male actor is named Leo, a top idol, a great design that makes women fall in love. Mugang also immediately went to investigate and asked Leo if anyone recently wanted to kill him. However, he didn't care and coldly drove him away. Before leaving, the manager called Mugang back. He said there was a threatening letter to Leo today, so he wanted Mugang to investigate and arrest the suspect. Immediately he assigned the task to Kang Ha Ram and told her to see whether there was any shadow around Leo. Because he was also Ha Ram's idol, she agreed to this. Tonight, Leo has a fan meeting, so there will be many people attending. So the two are ready at the entrance to search. They've been waiting for over 2 hours but still haven't seen any shadows. Suddenly at this time, the manager came and said Leo was missing, so they immediately split up to search. While Kang Ha Ram was searching, she found a girl on the rooftop intending to end her life. Kang Ha Ram tried to advise her, but it was ineffective. At this moment, luckily, Leo appeared in time to save the girl. Her overbearing pressure from superiors led the girl to suicide. Leo saw the situation, so he sincerely invited the girl to join his film crew. When Kang Ha Ram returned, her younger half-brother was waiting for her at the gate. Her father had died 20 years ago. Her mother remarried, but her stepfather stole Kang Ha Ram's money for gambling. So her mother sent this boy to return the money to Ha Ram. While talking, Kang Ha Ram noticed bruises on the boy's body. She immediately went to her mother to question why she abused the child like that. But unexpectedly, Kang Ha Ram also saw wounds on her body. That's all because of the gambling-addicted husband. She said if it was just for that worthless man to harm her child, then she should leave him. Today, the Royal Insurance Company is hosting a Halloween party. Mansu wants Kang Ha Ram to be there to have fun. Unexpectedly, the top idol Leo was also invited to attend. He and director Mansu were actually close friends, and Kang Ha Ram wanted to invite Mugang. They quickly went to the clothing shop to try on costumes for company's Halloween party. Mugang appeared with an extremely elegant and gentlemanly appearance, while Kang Ha Ram looked like the Hulk. While they were talking, suddenly someone wearing a mask walked by and stole Mugang's phone. Then he used Mugang's phone to contact a girl. This short-haired girl was Mugang's ex-girlfriend. And this guy is a hired assassin. He asked the short-haired girl to come here immediately or else Mugang would die. Upon hearing this, the short-haired girl quickly drove to the party, quickly met Mugang, and said goodbye to him. Unaware that the person in front of her was not Mugang, but the Death Black. Lights out. When they came back on, the short-haired girl was gone. He saw the assassin sitting there covered in blood. He realized that the guy who wanted to kill this body's owner, so he immediately chased after him. Earlier, he was chasing the short-haired girl. When the lights suddenly went out, he was holding her but was counterattacked. Luckily, Mugang chased after and stopped him. They fought each other, but he didn't know that he was facing a death with extraordinary combat skills. He quickly used precise strikes to teach this guy why the sea is salty. 1 punch to hit on the car, 2 punches to daze, and then the kick to fall off. Within a few short minutes, the cold-blooded assassin was lying on the ground defeated. Suddenly, he pulled out a knife from under his feet. He stabbed him fatally, causing him to throw himself into the water. His ex-lover, seeing that, was heart-wrenching. She intended to find him but was captured by the assassin. Strangely, the death still hadn't left Mugang's body. He tried to go back to the party. Just as Kang Ha Ram was looking for him, she saw Mugang returning. Because he didn't want her to know, he told her he had something to do outside. After returning home, Mugang recounted everything to the old death. He must leave this body if he is killed. How am I still in Mugang's body? He said this was also the first time he encountered this, so he needed time to investigate. But in misfortune, there is also luck. If he was killed but didn't leave the body, then it's no different from immortality. You'll have an advantage in finding the shaggy hair without fear of being killed. As for leaving the body, he will study slowly. After hearing the old death's explanation, he stopped worrying. The next morning, Kang Ha Ram visited the hospital and accidentally bumped into a man with a shadow inside him. When she touched him, Kang Ha Ram saw the murderer wearing a butterfly-shaped watch. Surprisingly, when she entered to visit the director's father, she saw the shadow, and the murderer wore the butterfly-shaped watch. To save both of them, Kang Ha Ram asked Mugang to follow the man, while she and the director would investigate who was planning to kill his father. While Mugang was silently observing the man, he was behaving very strangely. Following him, he discovered that the man was kidnapping a young boy for hostage. He intended to go rescue him but was held at knife point. But these few things didn't faze him at all. Mugang immediately counterattacked. He wanted to know why he was doing this. Only now was the man willing to confess. The kidnapped child is the son of the man he hates most in this world. 20 years ago, a tragedy at the center resulted in the deaths of hundreds of students, including the son of this miserable man. The whole country blamed the construction director for doing it. However, he was reported by the media to have died in the accident 20 years ago. Using the instincts of a father, the old man said all those reports were false. They all didn't believe the director had died, so the couple quietly investigated. After many days and nights, the wife finally found his trace. The wife took many photos of him joyously in his private home. But due to an accident, the wife was injured and comatose in the hospital. Fortunately, she left all the photos she took for her husband. He decided to finish the job now. So he kidnapped his son to force him out. Then he would live stream it to publicly expose his crimes in the accident 20 years ago. So he begged Mu Gang to let him finish this task for revenge. He volunteered to surrender himself. Before Mu Gang could respond, he was knocked unconscious and left alone, and the old man prepared a live stream to expose the truth about the accident 20 years ago. He publicly showed the photos his wife took and affirmed to the public that the director from back then was still alive. Kang Ha Ram and Mansu investigated and found the man wearing the butterfly-shaped watch. If what Kang Ha Ram saw from the shadow was true, then the director was the one killing the man. They quickly went there to prevent the disaster. However, as soon as they arrived, a bomb exploded. Mansu got seriously injured while trying to shield Kang Ha Ram. Kang Ha Ram tried to run to rescue the hostage, but it was too late. She quickly opened the hood to reveal that this person was not the director's son but actually the wife of the old man. The police thought he had detonated the explosive, so they immediately shot him on the spot. Mu Gang wanted to stop but was too late. Before passing away, the old man asked Mu Gang for help with one last task. Mu Gang immediately threw all the photos of the wicked director down into the city. People around hurriedly picked them up to see. The media also reported that the news of his survival was true. They would reinvestigate the unjust death of the old couple. In fact, he only made fake bombs to threaten the director, not intending to harm anyone. It was someone behind the scenes making the assassin turn it into a real bomb. At the same time, he exchanged the hostage from the young boy to the old man's wife. So they tragically departed. Meanwhile, the wicked director was actually going to flee abroad but was also killed by the cold-blooded assassin. Perhaps someone else was behind it all. After that incident, Mu Gang felt a pang in his heart witnessing the old couple leaving together. He decided to investigate the truth behind the case. The old death was astonished to see Mu Gang, also a cold-blooded death god, now turning so benevolent, perhaps because the death doesn't have emotions, but after being in a human body for so long, he changed and felt the pulse of the heart. Mu Gang and Kang Ha Ram found on security cameras a golden-haired guy exchanging the hostage for the wife. Mu Gang immediately went to catch him, but these Gunga terrorists didn't fear at all. Taking advantage of the chaos, the golden-haired one slipped away and made a call. Surprisingly, he and the cold-blooded assassin were on the same side. While they were on the phone, Mu Gang sneakily approached the golden-haired one. He forced him to reveal the director's whereabouts. However, he was still a step late. The director had already been killed by the cold-blooded assassin. Then he fabricated false evidence to make the media believe that the wicked director had truly escaped the game on his own. The media reported, spreading across the country, making everyone feel relieved. Everyone thought everything had been resolved smoothly. If that wicked director had died, it also meant Mansu's father had survived. Kang Ha Ram immediately informed Mansu. Despite the pain from his previous injury for protecting her, Mansu was happy to hear about his father's survival. The next day, Mu Gang wanted Ha Rammer to help him find the person who harmed Leo. The goal was to find the shaggy-haired one, but Kang Ha Ram postponed, and made other excuses. However, she accidentally saw a shadow behind a little girl. Kang Ha Ram immediately ran to ask the girl where her mother was. Just then, the mother arrived, and there was also a shadow behind her. When she touched it, she saw images of the mother and daughter on a tall building. Moreover, Kang Ha Ram recognized this girl, Lee Young-hee, who attended the Halloween party before. Last time, Lee Young-hee told Kang Ha Ram to be careful with the director because he had harmed her like this. After hearing those words, Kang Ha Ram immediately slapped him. The director didn't understand what was happening. When he opened his phone, news accusing him of assaulting that girl had spread nationwide. Mansu's father, who was also the vice president of the royal group, was also furious when he heard the news. Mansu was scolded by his brother for causing the company's insurance to plummet. They bribed reporters and high-ranking officials to support them. Quickly, the media changed their tune, saying that Lee Young-hee was trying to extort money, so she did all this. All the false accusations lacked evidence, and the online community turned against her. They kept throwing mud at Lee Young-hee. Seeing the injustice suffered by the mother and daughter, Kang Ha Ram went to tell Mansu about it. He had no idea his lawyer had accused Lee Young-hee, leading to her humiliation. Mansu's inherently kind, so he wanted to investigate everything. He recalled the Halloween night when he was drunk and remembered that Leo was also in that room. The director immediately went to ask his friend for the truth. Leo calmly recounted what happened that day. Before Lee Young-hee entered the director's room to get a gift for her daughter, Leo had woken up and left. In his hazy state, he wanted something to relieve his hangover when suddenly he saw Lee Young-hee falling from the second floor. Although a bit blurry, Leo saw a man in green stepping out. Only the director was dressed in green that day. His words stunned Mansu. Silently, he blamed himself for everything. He quickly met Kang Ha Ram, and together they went to Lee Young-hee's house to apologize. When they arrived, neither the mother nor the daughter was there. Based what Ha Ram saw, the mother and daughter were at the building opposite the water park. They quickly ran there and fortunately arrived in time. The director knelt down to apologize to Lee Young-hee for his actions, but when she saw the scratches on his neck, she said it wasn't him. The man who assaulted Lee Young-hee had left scratches, while the director had them on the right. So who was behind this? Suddenly, Kang Ha Ram saw a shadow appearing behind the director. Kang Ha Ram immediately informed Mu Gang about the upcoming threat to the director, so Kang Ha Ram wanted him to go there and save him. She decided to stay here to watch over Lee Young-hee's mother and daughter, but at this moment, Lee Young-hee's child fell ill. She had a respiratory disease and needed the medicine at home immediately. Kang Ha Ram volunteered to help her. While looking for medicine, an assassin appeared from behind and ambushed Kang Ha Ram. Fortunately, Lee Young-hee arrived in time to chase him away. As for the director, when he returned home, he was attacked by another assassin. Then he was hung up to pretend that he was upset and committed suicide. However, with Mu Gang's presence, the assassin was swiftly defeated with just a few basic moves. As he was about to chase, the director stopped him. He kept clamping Mu Gang's neck. Fortunately, the rope was broken, so Mansu survived. Thanks to that, everyone was safe. While Kang Ha Ram was talking to Lee Young-hee, she mentioned smelling marijuana when she entered that room. Coincidentally, Kang Ha Ram also saw a guy smoking marijuana at the previous Halloween party. Kang Ha Ram immediately went to find him. It turned out this guy was the son of the vice president, and Mansu was the director's grandson. Kang Ha Ram pulled his collar and saw scratches on the left side. Turns out this evil kid was the culprit. On that day, due to excessive marijuana use, he wandered into the director's room and used his uncle's green face powder. When Lee Young-hee entered, he acted debauched to her. Knowing the truth, Kang Ha Ram quickly called Mu Gang to arrest him. Suddenly, the other side shouted loudly and shut down. Realizing something was wrong, he hurriedly sought help from his colleague through the security camera, and they located him. Mu Gang quickly sped to the location, while the young punk, after knocking Kang Ha Ram unconscious, called his father for help. However, when the little punk saw Mu Gang approaching, he fled. The collision between the two cars caused Kang Ha Ram to be thrown out, while the little punk's car rolled a few times. Mu Gang rushed to check Kang Ha Ram's condition, but unexpectedly, the young punk was still alive. Then he grabbed a wrench and hit Mu Gang on the head. He intended to finish him off, but luckily the police arrived. The little punk was arrested for interrogation, but the vice president used money to hire a lawyer to defend his son. Because the son was a juvenile and it was his first offense, he was given leniency and released. When Mansu found out that this family had shifted the blame to him, he was very angry. He suspected that his own brother had hired someone to kill him, but he denied it. "Why would I kill my own brother?" he said indignantly, accusing Mansu of being naive. He forced him to sign to give up his inheritance rights. This brother wanted to swallow the entire fortune of the royal group. Meanwhile, the little punk acted as if nothing had happened. He even called his friend with dirty words. Being the son of a tycoon was great. As long as you had money, you wouldn't go to jail. However, his arrogance didn't last long. When he woke up, he found himself at the airport. The little punk was startled to find drugs in his bag. People around immediately recorded video. Surprisingly, his conversation yesterday was recorded, then widely spread on social media, prompting the police to decide to arrest the wicked child to face trial. However, no one knew who did it. The whole country hailed the silent hero, none other than Mu Gang. Earlier, he had stealthily broken into the boy's house, secretly filmed him, then put drugs in his bag before taking him to the airport. So finally, he received the deserved punishment to understand what is right thing to do. Kang Ha Ram returned home after many weary days only to find her mother waiting for her. Her mother begged Kang Ha Ram to help her husband. Previously, when they confronted each other, the mother looked into Ha Ram's eyes and guessed that she saw a dark shadow behind her husband. He was living a despicable life and had no blood relation with Kang Ha Ram, so she didn't care. However, her mother said her son was suffering from leukemia and needed a bone marrow transplant, so she begged Kang Ha Ram to save him. Just like saving the child, even if adults do wrong, children are innocent. Doubting human nature, she immediately went to find her husband to investigate his death. However, before she could get close, he ran away. Kang Ha Ram immediately contacted Mu Gang to chase after him. It turned out that he came to borrow money at high interest for his son's medical treatment, but because he owed too much, they didn't lend anymore. However, they said if he dared to do the job they assigned, they would provide money for his son's treatment. It turned out that this team was hired by the vice president to drive out the people. They struck to halt the royals' construction projects. Because the collapse of the mall center 20 years ago took hundreds of lives, hired thugs arrived to attack, and Kang Ha Ram swiftly intervened. But these thugs didn't mind anything and attacked everyone. Luckily Mu Gang arrived to help her. He immediately taught these thugs a lesson. While they fought, the children continued playing inside the warehouse. Suddenly, a stranger appeared and poured gasoline around and set fire to the entire warehouse. Kang Ha Ram hurried to rescue them, but the door was locked. Thanks to Mu Gang's powerful physique and the help of colleagues, the children were safely rescued. The husband was also trapped inside because of saving the children. However, Mugang and Kang Ha Ram rescued everyone. Afterward, the husband was grateful to Kang Ha Ram and vowed to change. Thanks to him still being alive, the child's surgery was successful. The short-haired woman was interrogated by the assassin. He wanted her to hand over the tape, or else Mugang would die. However, Mugang's ex-girlfriend said she didn't have the tape, but promised to find it for him. So the cold-blooded assassin temporarily released her. To protect her loved one, she had to search for the tape for them. Recently, Mugang had continuously dreamt of 2 children, thinking it was this body's own past. So he went to the basement to investigate. He was surprised to find a picture of the body's owner standing next to someone. Mugang went to his mother to ask who this child was. She said it was his brother. Turns out they were brothers with different mothers. Originally, Hyun-soo lived with his biological mother, but due to an accident, she had to go to jail. In prison, Hyun-soo's mother asked Mugang's mother to let him stay there. But unfortunately, Hyun-soo died in a car accident 20 years ago. Because the 2 brothers were very close, Mugang wore his red bracelet as a keepsake. Now he understood. When Kang Ha Ram saw him wearing the red bracelet, she mistook him for her first love. When she was young, Kang Ha Ram gave the bracelet to Hyun-soo, leading her to mistake Mugang for him. But in reality, they are 2 different people. If Kang Ha Ram knew Hyun-soo had passed away, it meant Mugang had deceived her all this time. To prevent her from being sad, he kept this secret. However, his ex-girlfriend spilled all this to Kang Ha Ram. The purpose was to separate the 2. After knowing the truth, Kang Ha Ram was silent in disbelief that it was all a lie. She immediately went to his office and gave him a smack. "Let's go our separate ways," Kang Ha Ram said angrily as she left. Bad things keep coming. The police just discovered a murder case. The victim was Leo's friend from the nightclub. When he left, he mistakenly took her car and saw the driver's face. According to the police investigation, the murderer was the driver. Leo described the man had a crescent moon scar on face, leading to a police wanted notice. Kang Ha Ram was shocked to hear the news. Turns out the scar-faced man was the one who killed her father 20 years ago. She aimed to catch the scar-faced man herself and make him pay. She hurried to his sister-in-law's house to locate him. But she's unwilling to be linked to the murderer. She sent Kang Ha Ram away. Coincidentally, Kang Ha Ram saw a shadow appear behind the woman, but before she could warn her, the door slammed shut. Meanwhile, Mugang knew Kang Ha Ram was looking for the scar-faced man. Worried for her safety, he chased after her. However, upon arrival, there wasn't Kang Ha Ram, only that woman's corpse. Colleagues hurried to the crime scene. One of them checked the security camera and found Kang Ha Ram had chased the scar-faced man into the woods. Mugang rushed there, but it was too late. Kang Ha Ram was missing, only a pool of blood and her phone remained. The Forensic Medicine Institute tested the blood, determining it was 99% Kang Ha Ram's. Due to excessive blood loss, her chances of survival were slim, leaving Mugang devastated. Desperately, he dragged his heavy feet through the cold rainy night. Despite the pain, Mugang believed she was still alive, determined to find Kang Ha Ram. While investigating at the police station, he discovered Kang Ha Ram's last call was to 112. Mugang immediately asked his colleague to retrieve that call for him. After listening to the call, he heard the sound of a Hyun-soo collector's truck. Mugang rushed to the scene to find the truck. If his hunch was correct, it should be passing by now. Indeed, the truck appeared as he thought. Mugang asked the driver if he saw anyone driving a truck here yesterday. He said he accidentally bumped into another vehicle yesterday. He found a phone number on it and tried to call for compensation. The other end didn't pick up, so Mugang asked for the number and traced it to the scar-faced man's address. He found many corpses but no Kang Ha Ram. Just then, the scar-faced man returned. Mugang ambushed him. Despite the man's weapon, Mugang's level was out of his reach. Quickly subdued, he forced him to lead to Kang Ha Ram's location. Throughout the ride, Mugang kept questioning why he harmed Kang Ha Ram. The scar-faced man claimed he was hired to kill her father. Seeking revenge, she attacked him. In self-defense, he fought back. Listening to this enraged Mugang. Mugang relentlessly punched him, causing him to lose control and crash into a tree. Taking advantage of Mugang's daze, he repeatedly stabbed him with an ice pick and threw him onto the road. He silently headed to the hospital. His next target was Leo. However, this plan was anticipated by the cold-blooded assassin. He told Leo to leave there. Right then, the scar-faced man approached his target. But what he didn't expect was that the plan was seen through by the assassin. Before they could start a fight, Mugang suddenly appeared. The scar-faced man was unbelievable. Mugang directly claimed himself to be immortal. Unable to withstand further confrontation, he fled. In his escape attempt, the scar-faced man seized a gun from a police officer and hijacked a bus, taking civilians as hostages. Mugang attempted to pursue but failed. Fortunately, a colleague allowed him to board. Despite their swift approach, they couldn't disarm him due to his possession of the gun. Driven by the need to find Kang Ha Ram, Mugang risked jumping onto the bus. Another officer followed closely behind. He had been ordered by the mysterious figure to kill the scar-faced man. Just as Mu Gang was questioning the scar-faced man where Ha Ram was, the officer arrived and shot him in the head. Fortunately, all hostages were safe, but Mu Gang hadn't received the answer he sought. Now, he didn't know where to find Kang Ha Ram. Exhausted, he collapsed, and his colleagues rushed him to the hospital. However, Mu Gang suddenly got up. He realized he had missed a spot during his search and quickly went to check it. His deduction was right. Kang Ha Ram was locked inside. Mu Gang summoned the strength of 10 men to force open the door. Luckily, she was still alive, but to his surprise, Mansu was also there. As Kang Ha Ram chased after the scar-faced man, she threatened him with a knife. He wasn't afraid and took the knife from her. He stabbed Kang Ha Ram once in the stomach. Just as he was about to finish her, Mansu rushed to stop him. However, he was also stabbed by the scar-faced man. In a moment of desperation, Kang Ha Ram picked up a rock and struck him in the head. The two quickly fled into the sewer. Then Kang Ha Ram locked the door to prevent the scar-faced man from entering, but he managed to steal the key. However, he came up with a bold idea. Rather than rushing in, he flung the key far, leading them to die gradually. Thanks to Mu Gang's timely arrival, Mansu and Kang Ha Ram got medical help in time. Through this event, Kang Ha Ram gradually became closer to Mansu. She diligently cared for him every step of the way. However, tragedy continued to happen. His father's unfortunate passing was making headlines. His health was fragile, and learning this news would be shocking, so Kang Ha Ram kept it from him. Life isn't fair, and you can't expect to keep the secret. The aggressive officer visited Mansu to ask about information regarding the Royal Insurance Company. Unfortunately, he unintentionally let slip about his father's recent passing. Upon hearing this, the director rushed to visit his father. In the house, he was the one who always loved him the most. The director decided to find out who had harmed his father, remembering his father had entrusted him with the key. Immediately, the director went to open the safe and found a reel of tape inside. The police officer requested to take it for investigation. After watching the tape, the Mad Dog officer went to question Senator Kim because he was the one who recorded this tape. Senator Kim recounted the events from 20 years ago. That day, he had infiltrated a brothel. He saw a 13-year-old girl captured there to work. He interviewed her and recorded their conversation on the tape. This would be evidence to help her escape. But the girl's impending words were truly horrifying. It turned out, the one who raped this girl was Mansu's father. The police officer and the Mad Dog officer were equally shocked, then asked, "Why didn't you publish this video online?" But Senator Kim said it had been stolen before he could do so. So, Mansu's father wanted to make this tape public because he felt guilty, but his eldest son, Man-ho, couldn't escape the crime either. Because the police found evidence that he was the one who ordered the assassin to deal with the girls involved in his father's pleasure list. The evidence showed the director with a butterfly-shaped watch at Mansu's house. However, when brought in for questioning, he stubbornly denied killing anyone. With no choice, the police had to temporarily detain him and search for more evidence. Meanwhile, on the rooftop, Kang Ha Ram received a sudden message from the director. It turned out that at the moment Mu Gang heroically boarded the bus. Those brave images had been captured by witnesses and spread online. After watching the footage, she was deeply moved, realizing he risked his life just to save her. Kang Ha Ram realized Mu Gang genuinely cared for her, and just then, Mu Gang appeared. He intended to say goodbye and promised not to bother her anymore. But as he was about to leave, Kang Ha Ram rushed over, sincerely expressing her feelings. "I've thought a lot about our relationship and I've realized that you are my true love." In a romantic atmosphere, Kang Ha Ram gave him a sweet kiss. Meanwhile, on Mu Gang's colleague's side, after solving the serial murder case, they went out drinking to relieve. However, while intoxicated, the Mad Dog accidentally knocked over a table of food. As he was about to apologize, he saw a teddy bear and realized something. He immediately went outside, but unfortunately, was harmed. He also had a butterfly-shaped watch like the one Kang Ha Ram had seen. Upon the Mad Dog's death, everyone, including Mu Gang, attended the funeral to pay respects. However, nobody knew the Mad Dog's death wasn't an accident. They thought it was just a normal traffic incident. Despite being an envoy of death, Mu Gang felt deeply sad. When a colleague is lost, he wonders why he feels emotions like a human. Mu Gang sought out Kang Ha Ram to confide in her. When he left, Kang Ha Ram's mother intercepted him, telling him to stay away from Kang Ha Ram. She didn't want her daughter involved with the death, surprising Mu Gang with her awareness of his identity. It turned out that before Kang Ha Ram's father passed away, her mother accidentally saw the death symbol around his neck, and she saw the same thing on Mu Gang. When he kissed Kang Ha Ram, her mother begged Mu Gang to let Kang Ha Ram go for her safety. He said he would leave soon, but not now. Mu Gang hurried back to share this story with his two colleagues. The old death disclosed that Kang Ha Ram's father died in an accident. While the death was preparing to take his soul, he accidentally saw the grief in his wife's eyes. So, he pitted the mortal's grief and entered the husband's body, continuing to live by his wife's side. Then, they gave birth to Kang Ha Ram. Being born from a couple of a death and a human, Kang Ha Ram has the ability to see others' deaths with her yin-yang eyes. However, one day, Kang Ha Ram's wife found out he was a death. Feeling horrified, she left the house. Now Mu Gang understood everything. To keep Kang Ha Ram safe, he had to quickly finish his work here by catching the shaggy-haired man. But before he could leave the house, a beam of light from outside suddenly shone straight into Mu Gang's eyes. He was curious and went to check it out, finding a telescope pointing towards Mu Gang's house. There was someone constantly monitoring his every move. To find out who was doing this, he hid and waited for the right moment. It turned out to be that assassin. He's taking orders from someone else. Mu Gang rushed to seize the phone, but the man struggled and escaped. While chasing him, Mu Gang made a mistake and slowed down. The assassin seized the opportunity to escape. Mu Gang sensed complications rising. So he went back to compile all the evidence he and his colleagues had collected over time. He began analyzing the murderer's motives. All prior victims were killed by the scarred-faced man and the assassin. The mastermind behind these crimes was the one wearing the butterfly-shaped watch. In fact, two people owned this watch, the dead director and Mansu. However, since that director was dead and Mansu was detained at the police station, it's likely that someone else is holding the third watch. That person is the mastermind behind everything. Perhaps, at the last moment, the mad dog discovered him, so he was killed. To find out who this person is, the first thing he must investigate is the mad dog's death. To find the answer, Mu Gang reviewed the evidence collected by the mad dog. Surprisingly, there was something related to short hair. He immediately went to see her and showed her the teddy bear. It contained short hair's fingerprints. She then recounted the events from 20 years ago. It turns out short hair was the 13-year-old girl abducted and sold. When Congressman Kim finished interviewing her, he immediately started assaulting her. She struggled in desperation and managed to snatch the teddy bear from his bag. However, Congressman Kim forgot to turn off the recorder while working with short hair. The entire incident was recorded on tape. As he searched for her to retrieve the tape, Hyunsu arrived in time to save her. They were childhood friends. Because of this, Hyunsu was killed by them and disguised as a traffic accident. During this time, he always sent the assassin to track down the evidence on the tape. He's indeed an old fox. So the mastermind has been identified. Mu Gang called his colleagues to his house to analyze the cause of the mad dog's death. He realized that the teddy bear and the remnants of the tape belonged to Congressman Kim. The mad dog recognized that, and immediately went to see the congressman. Congressman Kim answered truthfully, thinking it was routine. But after seeing the mad dog's unusual behavior, he understood everything. While he was preparing to leave, Congressman Kim hit the mad dog with his car. Then he disguised into a traffic accident. His colleagues were deeply hurt to learn their colleague was being harmed. They were determined to bring the culprit to justice. However, the tape of the assaulting scene was the only evidence to convict him. Right now, nobody knows its whereabouts. So Mu Gang came up with an idea. First, the team will stage a reenactment of that day's events. They carefully invited Short Hair to be the director, because only she knows how that day was going on. Of course, they'll only film from the waist down to avoid suspicion. Next, Mu Gang will pretend to have regained his memory and know where the tape is. As predicted, the prey took the bait. The cold-blooded killer followed Mu Gang and saw him retrieving the tape. He quickly informed Congressman Kim. He then came to arrest Short Hair and went to Mu Gang's house for a trade-off. He wanted to see the tape before releasing her, so Mu Gang showed it to him. With his cunning, he only showed him a glimpse of it and then promptly turned it off. The congressman thought it was the real tape, so he was very pleased. However, Mu Gang didn't rush to give it to him. He exposed the crimes of that man right there. Congressman Kim, having planned to eliminate both, saw no need to hide any longer. He admitted to everything he did, from killing the mad dog to the director and Mansu's father. Even the previous victims were harmed by the congressman's hired hands. All because he didn't want the tape to be made public. Just because he was afraid it would hinder his political career. Truly a cold-blooded and ruthless individual. He crushed the tape and hit Mu Gang with an iron tip. After that, the congressman called his hired hands to handle Mu Gang. However, as he was about to leave, he was surrounded by the police. All his actions and confessions were recorded. It turns out, the team secretly rigged the recorder before he arrived. Now our hero appears in his true form. He continuously delivers punches to that scoundrel. The police quickly took him to take legal punishment. Believing everything was resolved, Mu Gang brought out the evidence photos to burn them. However, Mu Gang discovered something strange in Hyunsu's case. He went to visit Hyunsu's birth mother to inquire. When he found out Hyunsu's body was unscarred, but the image showed a birthmark on his back. So someone must have swapped Hyunsu's body. So where's Hyunsu really? Is he still alive or dead? Mu Gang returned to tell his colleague about this. Both found it somewhat puzzling. However, the old death had some good news for him. He found out the reason why Mu Gang couldn't leave this body. When the death god enters their bodies while they're alive, the body will always retain their soul. Hearing this made Mu Gang confused. Because this body wasn't his, after all. The important thing now is to find Hyunsu's whereabouts. While investigating, Mu Gang suddenly spotted the shaggy-haired guy. He immediately chased after him. He quickly caught this guy. Do you know how long I've been looking for you? Suddenly, a car rushed in and hit Mugang. Luckily, Mugang was taken to the hospital for treatment. When Kang Ha Ram heard the news, she quickly rushed there and inadvertently saw a shadow in the doctor. She immediately informed Mugang about this. He immediately went to confront him and ask, "Are you the shaggy-haired guy? Come out now, or I'll hit you on the head right now." However, that person was not the shaggy-haired guy but a bizarre old lady. She was the ghost being hunted for hiding in the human world for 100 years. Mugang planned to take her to the underworld first, then deal with the shaggy-haired guy. However, the old lady made a deal with Mugang. If he let her go, she would tell Mugang the reason for Hyunsu's death. Mugang, wanting to know the truth, agreed. It turns out the death inhabiting Mugang's body was Hyunsu. He didn't die from an accident. 20 years ago, the Scarface guy hired to find the tape. The short-haired girl was fiercely chased. Fortunately, Hyunsu appeared and misled them. The Scarface guy chased to kill him, but Kang Ha Ram's father stopped him. Not able to fight back, he immediately fled. While Kang Ha Ram's father and Hyunsu were preparing to leave, a bullet suddenly shot him. Kang Ha Ram's father chased that person. Meanwhile, Hyunsu tried to run to the public phone booth to call Mugang's mother. She quickly brought the boy to the hospital. However, halfway there, the doctor called to inform her that Mugang had suffered a heart attack and needed urgent surgery or it would affect his life. It turns out, that kid had heart disease since childhood. Due to his rare blood type, no donor heart was available for surgery. Mugang's mom discovered that he and Hyunsu have the same blood type. In order to save her son, she callously took Hyunsu's heart for transplantation into Mugang. This doctor was also an accomplice with Mugang's mother. Not stopping there, she then placed Hyunsu's body in a car and dropped it into the sea to dispose of the evidence. Afterward, she placed another child's body by the roadside. Then, she crashed that body beyond recognition to make it look like an accident. Later, she just needed to go to the scene and confirm with the police that it was Hyunsu's body. Upon learning the whole truth, Mugang was left speechless, never imagining his own death to be so tragic. He went to meet the old death to determine if he was Hyunsu. At this point, there was no need for him to hide anymore. The death confirmed that he was the one who guided his soul and witnessed everything. Mugang painfully jumped into the sea and swam to where the car was. He immediately broke the door and embraced himself in agony. Mugang met the mother and exposed the truth about her actions. His mother, in agony, said she did it all to save her son. But she didn't realize that the person standing before her wasn't Mugang but Hyunsu. He would never forgive someone like her. Afterward, Mugang went to find his biological mother. He asked her for a bowl of onion porridge. His mother didn't even recognize him. Seeing the dish she used to cook for Hyunsu when he was a child, Mugang felt aching sadness in his heart. Tears overflowed. "I'm sorry I couldn't repay your nurturing kindness. If there's another life, I still want to be your son." He asked her if they could take a picture together. He tried not cry, but his tears still shed. Next, Mugang quietly went to watch Kang Ha Ram sleep. "I'm Hyunsu, you're Hyunsu. Nature does enjoy playing with human lives." In the end, Mugang was the most pitiful. To protect his loved ones, Hyunsu decided to find the tape to punish his enemies. Because the politician Kim was released due to lack of evidence to convict him. The only thing to bring him down was the tape. But first, he needed to retrieve the memories. Hyunsu went to the crime scene where he was shot. However, Mugang still didn't know who fired the gun. Kang Ha Ram followed the coordinates to his location. She was worried about Mugang as she hadn't seen him around lately. However, Kang Ha Ram realized she had been here before. Hyunsu asked her about it. Kang Ha Ram said that 20 years ago, she followed her father here and saw a shadow beside him. Afraid her father would be in danger, Kang Ha Ram shot at that shadow. Upon hearing this, Hyunsu's heart fell silent. He couldn't believe the one who aimed the gun at his head was her. He was devastated by the cruel truth. But he couldn't blame Kang Ha Ram. She only wanted to save her father and mistook Hyunsu for the shadow. Mugang swiftly resumed his search for the tape. During the investigation, he discovered that Leo was politician Kim's son. Moreover, he was also Hyunsu's schoolmate in the past. Mugang gradually recalled his memories from that time. When they were young, Hyunsu visited Leo's house once, while Leo brought out a tape for them to watch a movie. But unexpectedly, it was the incriminating tape of politician Kim. While Leo was distracted, Hyunsu quickly took it and left. When politician Kim found out, he sent assassins to hunt him down. Before being chased, Hyunsu quickly put the tape in a time capsule and buried it underground. Only Kang Ha Ram and he knew how to open that box. But instead of searching for it, Mugang went to meet Leo, forcing him to come out. It turned out the shaggy-haired guy was hiding inside this body. Hyunsu knew this because when he investigated at Leo's house, he found a laptop. Opening it, he saw a video of Leo hanging clothes and accidentally being drug-shocked to death. Suddenly, the door opened and that guy came back to life. Mugang immediately realized only this guy could enter. But Hyunsu had no intention of taking him to the afterlife. He would let him continue living on Earth. The condition was that the shaggy-haired guy had to care for Kang Ha Ram. Perhaps Mugang was preparing for some plan. He had remembered all his memories. While Hyunsu watched the tape, he discovered another man assaulted short-haired girl beside politician Kim. That was this old man. He was the one behind the power acquisition and everything. Before, he backed up Kim because he thought he had the tape. However, when the assassin kept investigating and found out only Kang Ha Ram knew where the tape was, he switched to finish off Kim. Meanwhile, he sent his hired hands to search for Kang Ha Ram. Kang Ha Ram arrived at the time capsule to dig it up. She and Hyun-soo had promised each other to open it today and see. However, she found a tape inside. Upon playing it, Kang Ha Ram began to understand everything. She immediately called the police for help. However, the hired hands surrounded her. Mu-gang's teammates also arrived to help her out, but the enemies were numerous and aggressive. Some of Mu-gang's teammates were beaten down. They were brought in front of the big boss. He ordered his men to torture them, pressuring Kang Ha Ram to reveal the tape's location. However, even if Kang Ha Ram died, she wouldn't give in. The cold-blooded killer decided to deal with her right away. While unconscious, Hyun-soo appeared in time to rescue her. He was truly furious with these scoundrels. Mu-gang rushed in and took them down one by one. He struck fiercely, showing no mercy to them. Even the cold-blooded killer was beaten by him. He finished him off with an electric shock. Finally, Hyun-soo approached the boss and shot him with a bullet. So everything was dealt with. Fortunately, everyone was safe, but no one knew that Hyun-soo did this. Mu-gang's mother, however, was overwhelmed by her sins and took poison. Mu-gang was taken back to the afterlife for judgment. He knew that the laws of the Heaven Realm forbade killing. Hyun-soo was willing to sacrifice himself to save Kang Ha Ram and his teammates. He also asked the court for the highest punishment of the Heaven Realm. That was erasing his existence from before. Meaning all images and memories of Hyun-soo would disappear from the world. So no one would know about him, and Kang Ha Ram could live happily. The condition was accepted. From then on, everyone returned to normal life without any tragedy. Leo never forgot his duty to care for Kang Ha Ram. On Christmas Day, he gave her a gift and left. Kang Ha Ram sat on the porch and opened it. It turned out to be their promise ring. At that moment, Kang Ha Ram remembered all her memories of him. As she closed her eyes and reached out, they met again in heaven. They held hands and talked on a romantic path. The movie has ended here, and the final end has been fulfilled. Thank you for following along with me throughout the movie. See you again in the next videos. Now, goodbye and see you later.